Hello, welcome to Wega Achiever Educational Limited, presenting your tutor, trusted for being friendly and high impact learning. Today, we're going to continue from where we stopped in our previous class, still on cell biology. This time around, we'll be talking about specialized plant cells. Now, what are specialized plant cells? Specialized plant cells are cells that have developed unique structures and functions to perform a specific task within the plant, contributing to its overall survival and efficiency. That is it. Now, what are specialized plant cells? Examples of specialized plant cells. Now, let's talk about that. You have the root hair cells, the xylem cells, the phloem, the polysepmenophy cells. All these are specialized plant cells in plants which carries out a specific task in order for the plant to survive in its environment. Now, let's talk about the root hair cells. Here's the structure of the root hair cells. What are root hair cells? Root hair cells are specialized to take up water by osmosis and mineral ions by active transport from the soil as they are found in the tips of the roots. Now, what is the major function of root hair cells? To absorb water from the soil by what process? Osmosis, and also absorb mineral ions by what process? Active transport. Take note of that. The waters are absorbed from the soil by osmosis, while by active transport, mineral ions is being absorbed from the soil. Now, I won't talk about the root hair cells. Let's talk about the xylem and xylem cells. Here, a plant structure that shows where the xylem is located in the roots and also in the stem of a plant. What is xylem? Xylem is a type of vascular tissue in plants. Its primary function is to transport water, mineral salts from the roots to other parts of the plant. Structure of the xylem, which was shown there. The structure of the xylem is made up of dead cells. Now, other main components of the xylem include the xylem vessel, which is long, hollow tube with no end walls to allow free flow of water. The trachea, which are also similar vessels but narrower and with tapering ends. And you also have the lignin. This is a hard waterproof substance in the cell wall that strengthens and supports the plant, which simply means that xylem do not just conduct water alone in plants, it also helps in providing support and strengthening the plants. Now, adaptation of xylem to its function. Features and adaptations, as you can see there. Now, have a look at that features and adaptation. Let's move to phloem. The phloem. What is the phloem? Phloem is a vascular tissue in plants. It transports organic substance, mainly sugar, like sucrose, produced during photosynthesis from the leaves to other parts of the plant. Now let's talk about the function of the phloem. The two major functions of the phloem is translocation, which is simply the movement of organic substances, and transport of amino acid and other nutrients for growth and development. That is one of the major functions of the phloem. Now let's talk about the structure of the phloem. Made of living cells, unlike that of the xylem that is made up of dead cells. What are the main components of the phloem? Which are the sieve tube elements, which are long, narrow cells. And also you have the companion cells, which supports sieve tube by carrying out life process. Now the sieve plates. The sieve plate is found between the sieve tube cells. These allow flows of sugar. Now, adaptations of phloem. You can see the adaptations right there. The sieve plates, few organelles in the sieve tubes, the companion cells, and the living cells. I haven't talked about that. Let's talk about the spongy mesophy. What is the spongy mesophy? Spongy mesophy is a layer of loosely packed cells in the lower part of a leaf, found beneath the pellucid mesophyll layer and above the lower epidermis. Functions of spongy mesophy. Now, number one function of the spongy mesophy is for gaseous exchange. The air space allows carbon dioxide to move easily through the leaves to reach the pellucid cells for photosynthesis. And in case you don't know what is photosynthesis, it's simply the process in which green plants manufacture their own food in the presence of sunlight as an energy source, in which chlorophyll traps the energy source and converts carbon dioxide and water into glucose in plants. which is the food that plant produce. Second function of the spongy mesophyll, oxygen and water vapor can diffuse out through the stomata. And that function that it carries out is that it allows oxygen and water vapor to diffuse out through the stomata. What is stomata? Stomata is the opening present in the leaf. And thirdly, some photosynthesis also occur in the spongy mesophyll. Like I said, I've already defined photosynthesis for you. Now, how it helps photosynthesis. Let's talk about how the spongy mesophyll helps photosynthesis. Spongy mesophyll cells takes in CO2, which is carbon dioxide, through diffusion from airspace. That's one way. Secondly, the moist air surface allows gases to dissolve, aiding gaseous exchange in the mesophyll, which also aid photosynthesis. Thirdly, this structure increases the surface area for efficient gas diffusion. So now, what are the things needed for photosynthesis to occur? Include carbon dioxide and water. I've been discussing this topic so far, so let's attempt some questions from the Gcse. Okay, figure 1 shows a specialized cells that absorb substances from the soil. Name the types of specialized cells in figure 1. This is way too easy. That's the root L cell. That's in C. Root L cell is the answer. Now, D then says, describe how the cell in figure 1 is adapted to increase the absorptions of substances from the soil. Okay, let me give a little explanation before I go straight ahead and answer this question. The root L cells are specialized cells that enhances the plant's ability to absorb water and minerals from the soil. They achieve this through several adaptations. Now, one of the adaptations is that a large surface area, a thin cell wall, and a high concentration of mitochondria enable them to achieve this. So that is the adaptation of the root L cells to its environment. Now, let's attempt the next question. This next question is way too easy also, because from what we've studied so far, this is an easy question. I said, name the process by which water molecules enters the root air cells. Come on, I just explained this earlier. Check the black dots there are water molecules, while the ones that look like times are the nitrate ions. They say, name the process by which water molecules enters the root air cells. By osmosis. That's the answer. So the next one, let's go to the next question. Nitrate ions need a different method of transport into the root air cells. Explain how the nitrate ions in figure 3 are transported into the root air cells. Use the information from figure 3 in your answers. Okay, I think the figure 3 is not shown here, but name of the process is active transport. Name of the what process is what? Active transport. So now I will give in details the explanation of how nitrate ions is being absorbed by the root L cells by a process known as active transport. Now, there it goes. Now, this is how active transport works. The root L cells utilize specialized membrane protein called ion transporters to actively pump ions like phosphate ions, potassium ions into the cytoplasms. This process requires energy in form of ATP as it moves ions against their concentration gradients, meaning from an area of lower concentration, which is the soil, to an area of higher concentration, which is the root air cells. So that is the way active transport works. I believe you understand that. Now, what is ATP? In case you don't know what is ATP, the full meaning of ATP simply means adenosine triphosphate, which is an energy. So thank you very much for joining us at Vega Achievers Educational Limited. God bless you.